have the sufficient strength to take up the concept. I again welcome you to this pilot workshop on India reforms, and I'll just give a brief about myself for the newcomers who have come here. I am Commander Suchin Jain, and I recently finished my business management course from Ahmedabad, and I'm a BTech in naval architecture, and I have finished. I'm also postgraduate from IT Delhi. Some of my achievements are design of the aircraft carrier, which is launched in Cochin. I did the finite element analysis. I did almost 1000 analysis, and this was because I badly wanted the design to be indigenous, and I given my best possible during that time. I was also the part of the team which went to Russia for the aircraft carrier INS Vikramaditya, and I have also innovated a 6-step collaborative quality assurance reporting process, and which has done away with the inspection garage from my organization, and we established very effectively the quality reporters instead of quality inspectors. So I like to think innovatively, and now let me begin with the introduction of India reforms. We have the economic reforms that started in 44 years later after the independence in the year 1991, and it is already 23 years after the reforms have started. Still the reforms are not complete. Then what about the reforms in other sectors like education, healthcare, administration, police, infrastructure, and so on? So how many centuries will be needing to complete the reforms in all these sectors? We have 2 million NGOs who are fighting every day, and a lot of money from India and abroad is being spent on fighting for the causes. But have our past efforts made any difference to the way we live? Despite their countable victories, we continue to live the way we do. Then what about the interdependence between various policies, say how economic reforms affect education, healthcare, politics, governance, and so on? Is anybody looking at the whole picture? So we have a whole lot of confusion around us, and someone is required to look at the whole picture, correct all policies, define their interdependence once and for all. So what is the basic problem? The basic problem, according to me, is that we have obtained independence in 1947. We took over the entire system from British without really customizing it to our needs. That time our predecessors believed that the British system actually united India, and feared if we tinkered with it, it might lead to breaking of the country or lead to a civil war. So we had peaceful transition at the cost of our happy future. Probably it was true that time, but the times have changed now. Today most Indians are connected through internet, mobile, and telephone. We should not dispel with any unfounded fears and pave way for a modern India. When I was studying at IIT Delhi, I came across Sir Mark Tully, erstwhile BBC correspondent. I asked him a question that had always bothered me. I asked him that he has seen government in Britain, he has seen government in India, and he's also seen pre-independence India. So was the system in Britain different than the system set up by them in India? To which he answered that it was indeed different, since the system in Britain was set up by the Britishers to govern Britain, while the system in India was set up to colonize India. This answered a lot of my doubts. At this point, I would like to read a printed clip of Lord Macaulay's address to the British Parliament on 2nd February 1835, which reads, "I have travelled across the length and breadth of India, and I have not seen a one person who is a beggar, who is a thief. Such wealth I have seen in this country, such high moral values, people of such caliber, that I do not think we would ever conquer this country unless we break the very backbone of this nation, which is her spiritual and cultural heritage. And therefore, I propose that we replace her old and ancient education system, her culture, for if the Indians think that all that is foreign and English is good and greater than their own, they will lose their self-esteem, their native culture, and they will become what we want them, a truly dominated nation." Today, instead of a Britisher, now an Indian is sitting in the same chair, who is following the same policies, regulations set up by them years ago. The government servant in his individual capacity neither has the knowledge nor institutional support to rewrite or modify the policies, and he is too apprehensive to touch it. That is to say, why trouble trouble until trouble troubles you? Policies are made on as required basis by initiative taken by government at the highest level. Passing the hierarchy itself takes huge time and effort for any change. So few things of imminent priority do change, like economic policy or the industry policy, but other things like administration, police, defense, healthcare continue to suffer. Hence in reality, nothing changes and we continue to live the way we do. We have accepted stress as a normal way of life. We have accepted that some people have to be poor because we need laborers. We have accepted that sickness is due to one's karma and not due to adulteration in food, which we have come to consider as normal. We teach our children to learn to struggle because that is the only way to live that we know of. What is the solution? I think that the piecemeal solution to problems has not worked for us for last 67 years, and a reformed India would only be a dream until we change everything in one go. We need to change the entire national framework and define it and customize it to our specific needs of contemporary India. There are conventional ways of doing this, like have a civil war, or go to the street and fight for the causes, or give a dharna. Take Jain Lokpal for example. I really doubt if the people who are fighting for it also know what is written in it. How many people have thought over what should be Jain Lokpal? Maybe few. And if Parliament passes the bill, it becomes law. Do what the masses believe to be right, who use their right of voting and give up their right of thinking and deliberation. So result is an ad hoc democratic decision which is to be accepted and thrusted upon all, since those who raised their hands for ayes were more than nays. Then again the cycle of protest, demonstration and fight for the cause starts, because it was not holistic, did not address certain critical aspects, so we are all trapped in a catch-22 situation. Therefore any solution has to be holistic, which would reform, define and look at the entire framework, all inclusive. So the solution is to use the power of internet and redefine or indigenize all policies and also define their interdependence. Let's take education policy for example and understand how this would work. We will open it up for discussion on the internet, where a large number of users would come or be invited. The case study method would be digitized to make the online discussions more meaningful for drafting the new policy. So the users will have to identify themselves, take positions as initiator, challenger, builder, integrator or summarizer prior to commenting on the policy or a part of it. Then we will conclude the discussion, make a draft document and give it to a selected eminent professional or an institute to carry out an independent research to redraft, correct, modify, add, etc. and make a final document. The final document will then be given to the government for final acceptance. Then either the government may accept and implement the policy without any changes, or it may make some changes as per their requirements prior to implementing, or they may just reject it, or they may sit over it. But in any case, since this is a document created by public and carries the voice of the masses, so inaction will be difficult for the government. Then whatever action is taken from their end, they will be bound to provide a suitable reasoning. Also, for revising the policy in future, no one will have to go to streets for fighting or staging a dharna, because we will initiate revision of policy well in advance, just like a new version of Microsoft Windows is released every few years. How do we generate funds for sustenance and growth? Presently, corporates try to influence politicians and government unethically to seek favorable changes in policies. However, I propose to make the process transparent and ethically acceptable. We will invite corporates, industry associations for online bidding, maybe through their CSR initiatives, for the changes that they seek in the policies of their interest, which will remain in open domain for anyone to see and comment. Bidding for the changes they seek would ensure that their requirement is deliberated upon by the eminent professional while drafting policy. A part of these funds would be used to fund the eminent professional to carry out his research, etc., and a part of funds would be given to the institute, which would provide resources for such activity in its premises. We would hold workshops on policies across the country and also sell merchandise for promoting policies. Ladies and gentlemen, this is in a nutshell my proposal for India reforms. This workshop would pilot test some of the assumptions or impediments that we have in the proposal. We will now form a few groups for brainstorming.
In law from UK, and then I started practicing here in the High Court. I worked in between in London for some time and in Delhi. While I started practicing in the High Court here, I started to realize that the justice system itself needed a lot of reforms per se. Not only that the entire trial process takes a long time, not only that it is inefficient, and there are small tweaks that can kind of change a lot for the clients who are seeking justice for years and years together. But at the same time, the policies and laws have also become quite outdated and they need to be revised. Since the work that I started to do with my organization was related to making governments and stakeholders as well as young people aware about how the legal system needs reforms, interesting proposals started coming to me on legislative drafting. And some of the members of parliament as well as government departments contacted me because they had specific needs for drafting legislation and policies. And I've been kind of assisting and helping government machinery to do that in certain states as well as in the center. And I've been finding this work extremely interesting, and that's when I started kind of can mold into something more concrete, because I'm personally been extremely interested and fascinated by some of the changes that are happening across the world. So for instance, in